So, Lauren, thank you so much for meeting with me. I know you had a chance to take the test, and I do have your scores here, but I wanted to just find out a little bit, have you ever taken the Symptoms Checklist 90 before?
No, I have not.
Had you ever heard of it?
To be honest with you, no.
So tell me what it was like to take the test a little bit.
Well, I kind of felt overwhelmed at first because there was 90 questions, and then just looking at that kind of, I was all flustered. But it wasn't actually that bad. It didn't take too long, so.
So, I hear you saying that, like, at the beginning it looks like, oh my goodness,
Yeah.
there's so many questions, but as you went through it, you kind of got the hang of how they were asking you to score it and
Yeah, they were basic questions, so it didn't seem like it was too difficult.
So let's go through a little bit and discuss the different parts of the test since you hadn't taken it before. There are several different areas that we were looking at, and the questions were mixed up a little bit, so you didn't know which area you were kind of focusing on. So here's an example of some of the different parts. Now, when you were taking it, did you kind of get a feeling it was looking for certain information? Or?
Yeah, I mean, one of the questions that stood out was like, do you get headaches often? So I was like, that's kind of like a funny question. I wasn't sure like what that was trying to imply, so. As I was saying, they do kind of search for different things. So did any areas kind of stick out with you besides, let's say, the headaches, those type of questions that they were focusing on? Not that I can remember. Areas that stood out.
That's okay, let's go on. Your scores, probably that's why nothing's standing out with you, because your scores, if we look at what you gave a positive score to, you'll see that actually in many of the areas, you got zeros. And there were really only 2 areas that stood out as being something that, is not of concern, but that was, something that was slightly elevated.
Okay.
And that was the area of obsessive compulsive.
Okay.
And once again, you can see here from this diagram that you really were within the normal group, and your percentage also was, at the 50% mark. So really, like, that wasn't even something to worry about. The other area that had a tiny spike up was your hostility ranking, which, once again, when you look at it, though, is nothing to be concerned about, which could have been something you were feeling that week or that day. So I wouldn't, there's no concern here. So what do you think about it? Like, when I tell you the areas that kind of popped up as being, slightly different, or the scores that you gave positives to, since most of them were zeros, what do you think about that?
I kind of agree with obsessive compulsive, just because I'm in grad school now, so there's a lot going on, so I kind of just, like, I'm trying to stick to a schedule, and if it's, like, off schedule, I kind of get flustered, so I try to make sure everything's, done in a certain amount of time, and just on track, and just following it by schedule. So I guess, like, if it gets off track, I see myself kind of, like, freaking out and getting all flustered. So that one made sense to me the most.
So it does make some sense. A lot of the other areas, it's always interesting to learn about them so that you could just be aware for the future, but obviously there is nothing really that stands out as needing any sort of support right now. So, after looking at this, I know you had some concerns going into it with feeling the pressures of school. If you had wanted to, you probably could seek just somebody to talk to help you through some of that, although it's not necessary at all. Is there anything that you think that you got out of it as you took it, things that kind of came to your mind as areas of interest that you didn't think about, similar to what you said about the headaches? You never really thought about having a headache, but a headache could be, something of importance.
I mean, right now I wouldn't consider anything like a major, like standing out majorly, but I guess maybe in the future, like if I see some kind of different symptoms, or not symptoms, but just if I see stuff like that, certain actions and stuff, maybe it'd be like good for me to take it again just to see if like maybe my scores, you know, are a little bit different, if there's something like I need to do in order to like, you know, get the scores back below average or something like that. Just being aware of this test in general, I think will just be something of importance for the future.
Well, so I'm glad to hear you say that, you know, that it is a resource that you could use if you ever get into a situation where you do feel like something is different from the norm. Other than that, you know, I'm glad that you took it, and if you ever have any further questions, definitely come back and see me. And let me know how it goes.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you.